Hello dear students, most welcome to all of you or welcome back to all of you. In the previous videos we have studied about the natural resources, types of natural resources, human resources and human resources. I have explained you that a natural resources can be divided into different categories or classes on the basis of their origin or source, their stage of development, their renewability, their distributions and their applicability. The natural resources can be divided into poetic resources, abiotic resources, actual resources, potential resources, and further it can be divided into renewable and non-renewable resources, aqueous and localized resources. So in order to bring you to the topics, whatever we have learned in the previous videos, in the first videos of the chapter natural resources. So what are the topics we are going to cover next in these chapters? Distribution of natural resources, human made resources and conservation of resources and sustainable development. These topics we will cover furthermore in these chapters. So what are our new topics of the chapters? Distribution of natural resources, human made resources, conservation of resources and resources and sustainable development. So these are the new heads which we will cover in this part of video or in these chapters. So let's start. First of all, I would like to give you a quick review of the chapters whatever I have explained to you in the last one. So dear students, I think in the first video it's clear to all of you that what is natural resources. Anything that is found in nature and has some value or use for humans is called resources. Is that clear? Anything that is found in nature and has some value or use for humans is called a resource. Or you can say that anything that is useful to the humans is called a resources. Whatever we use becomes a resources only when its properties are recognized. Some resources also becomes economically valuable with the span of time or with times. There are two types of resources: natural resources or human resources. Further, human made resources also come into existence. So time and technology are the two important factors that are responsible for changing things. Many of the available resources are being overused, which may lead to their existence. Let's find out more about them in this chapter. Type of resources. Resources can be of three broad types. As I have explained you, natural resources, human resources and human made resources. So you can understand through this flow chart. Can be of three types, three broad types: natural, humans and human made. So resources can be of three broad types: natural resources, human resources and human made resources. Now come to the point, or let's study about the natural resources. Natural resources are those resources that occurs naturally and supports life is called natural resources. So those resources which occur naturally and support life is called natural resources, such as, for example, water, air, sunlight. These are the resources which occur naturally, and these resources supports the life or existence of life, supports in existence of life on the planet Earth. So these resources are called natural resources. What are these? Air, water, sunlight. So these are the resources which we get naturally and which play a vital role in supporting the life on the planet Earth. Thus, these resources are called natural resources. Now, second one is the natural resources include minerals also. इसके अंतर्गत जो minerals भी आते हैं, natural resources include also minerals, fossils, fuels, forests, etc. are also come under the concept of natural resources. What are the next things? Minerals, fuels, forest, etc. are also come under the natural resources. Is that clear to you that the resources which naturally occur or which support life is called natural resources, such as air, water, sunlight. Natural resources include also minerals, fuels, forests, etc. We need, as you all know very well, that we need water for our daily activities. Besides plants and factories also needs water. So water is a natural resources. Similarly, when we extract minerals from the rocks such as iron or coal, they become resources. However, in ancient time, that means in old age, the coal and iron ores were not extracted from the rocks. So at that time, they were not resources, as they had no value at that point of time. So some natural resources that can be immediately utilized are air, water, fish, fresh fruits and vegetables. These are the resources which can be immediately utilized. Now my dear students, let's study in how many categories natural resources can be classified on the basis of their origin or resource, on the basis of their stage of development, on the basis of their renewability, on the basis of their distribution, and on the basis of their availability. I have explained all of you in earlier classes that on the basis of origin and source, natural resources is divided into two parts, biotic and abiotic resources. So the question is, what is biotic resources and what is abiotic resources? On the basis of their origin, natural resources can be classified into biotic and abiotic resources. Biotic resources are all biologicals or living beings such as plant, animals, insects are. So all the biological or living things come under the biotic resources. All the biological or living beings such as plant, animals, insects, etc. come under the biotic resources. So my dear students, on the basis of origin, there are two kinds of resources, biotic and abiotic. Biotic and abiotic. So biotic resources are resources, all the biological and living organisms come under the biotic resources. Examples such as animals, plants, animals and insects comes under the biotic resources. And abiotic resources. Abiotic resources includes all physical or non-living, all physical and non-living things such as land, minerals, soil, water and climate. So land, mineral, soil, water and climate, these all are non-living things or physical substance which comes under the concept of abiotic resources. So is that clear to all of you that natural resources is classified into two classes on the basis of their origin. It is divided into two parts: biotic resources and abiotic resources. Biotic resources are those resources which have a life. So all biological and living organism comes under the concept of biotic resources, and all physical and non-living resources that can be non-living things such as that can be land, mineral, soil, water and climates come under the concept of abiotic resources. Now come to the points that on the basis of their stage of development, on the basis of stage of development, on the basis of on the stage of development, further natural resources can be divided into two parts: actual and potential resources. ACTUAL, actual and potential resources and potential resources. So dear students, on the basis of their stage of development, further natural resources can be divided into two groups: actual resources and potential resources. So what is actual resources? Let's study actual resources. So resources whose quantity and quality are known to us are known as the actual resources, or the things of which quantity and quality is known to all of us, or the things of which we aware or we is familiar with the quality and quantity of a things is known as the actual resources. So the resources whose quantity and quality is known to us are known as the actual resources. For example, oil resources reserves, hydroelectricity or tidal power, deposits of iron ore, etc. are the example of actual resources. Again, actual resources are the resources whose quantity and quality are known to us. They are called actual resources. For example, oil reserves, hydroelectricity or tidal power, deposit of iron ore, etc. are the example of actual resources. Potential resources, on the other hand, potential resources are those resources that are known to exist but have not been used as yet. So that are known to exist but have not been used yet. That means nobody has used it yet now or still now. So the example of potential resources are waterfalls, wind and solar energy. These all are the potential resources. Wind mills spread along the Indian coastlines have potential for greater development. Biofuel as an alternative fuel is another potential resources. So these all are the example of potential resources. That means the resources that exist but not used yet now is known as the or is called potential resources. Whereas the actual resources are resources whose quality and quantity is known to all of us. Example of actual resources are oil reserves, hydroelectricity or hydropower or deposit of iron are the example of actual resources. On the other hand, potential resources is the resources which is not used yet, which exist but not used yet are example of potential resources. For example, waterfall, wind and sunlight are the example of potential resources. Next, the natural resources further can be classified in two categories on the basis of their renewability. So on the basis of renewability and my dear students, on the basis of renewability, further natural resources can be divided into two parts: renewable and non-renewable. Is it being clear to all of you that natural resources can be classified in renewable and non-renewable resources on the basis of their renewability? So on the basis of renewability, natural resources is divided into renewable and non-renewable resources. Let's just study about that what is renewable resources and what is non-renewable resources. So come to the point, renewable resources. First one. So soil, water and forest that can be renewed or replenished quickly are called renewable resources. So soil, water and forest that can be renewed or replenished quickly are called renewable resources. Whereas, or on the other hand, resources like iron or like iron or gold, petroleum, iron ore, gold, petroleum are the example of non-renewable resources, whereas soil, water and forest which can be renewed or replenished quickly are called the renewable resources. So it becomes clear to you that resources which can be renewable or replenished quickly is called renewable resources. Example: soil, water and forest. Whereas on the other hand, non-renewable resources are those resources which can be renewable or cannot be replenished quickly is called non-renewable resources. Example, iron ore, gold and petroleum. These are the things which cannot be renewed or cannot be replenished quickly. That's why these resources are called non-renewable resources. Now, on the basis of their distributions, again natural resources can be divided into two parts. On the basis of origin, first we have studied about the natural resources, classification of natural resources on the basis of origin. Second, we have studied about the classification of natural resources on the basis of development. Third, we have studied about the classification of natural resources on the basis of renewability. Fourthly, we will study about the classification of natural resources on the basis of distribution. Is that clear? Distribution. My dear students, on the basis of distributions, natural resources further divided into two class. It is divided into obtuse, ubiquitous and localized resources. It is divided into obtuse and localized resources. Ubiquitous and localized resources. My dear students, resources like the air we breathe, water we drink, and sunlight that are found everywhere are called ubiquitous resources. That means the resources which are found everywhere or which are easily available is called ubiquitous resources. But the resources that are found only in a certain places are localized. So these resources which are found on a certain place are called localized resources. Example, copper and iron ore. Copper and iron ore is found on a certain place. That's why these resources are called localized resources. Distribution of natural resources. While natural resources are available widely, they are not available everywhere. Some resources might be evidently available in a certain parts of the world and not in other parts because of uneven distribution of natural resources. So due to the uneven distribution of natural resources, some resources might be abundantly available in a certain parts of the world and not in other parts because of the uneven distribution of natural resources. So what is the reason behind it? The reason being the different landforms and climatic conditions the world over. Everywhere is not the same climate, not the same landforms, is differs from place to place. So on the basis of the different types of landforms and climate condition of the world over, distributions of natural resources is not same everywhere. However, the number of people living in an area and their independence on the natural resources vary. The numbers of people living in an area and their dependence on the natural resources vary. Moreover, technology and money are required to convert. Technology and money are required or very essential to convert naturally occurring raw materials into resources and then into human made resources, the resources also change over a time. So these are the reasons of uneven distribution of natural resources. Now come to the points we are going to study next in these chapters. Human resources. Second one, as I have explained you, or it's being clear to all of you that resources can be, or it is of three broad types: natural resources, human resources, and human made resources. So resources, as I have explained you, so that is found in nature and has some value or use for humans is called a resource. It is divided into three broad heads or class: natural resources, human made resources. Natural resources, I have explained you that those resources that occur naturally and support life are called natural resources. It is divided into different classes on the basis of their origin or source, their stage of development, their renewability, their distribution, their availability. On the basis of origin of source, it is divided into two parts: poetic and aquatic resources. On the basis of their stage of development, natural resources can be also divided into actual and potential resources. On the basis of their renewability, it is divided into renewable and non-renewable resources. And on the basis of availability, natural resources can be continuous resources, obtuse and localized resources. On the basis of classifications, on the basis of their distributions of resources. Human resources. Now come to the points. The next one is the human resources. Human resources constitute human beings themselves. Human resources are considered to be the most important resource, because no gift of nature can be developed and utilized as a resource. So that's why human resources is known as the most important resources. So human beings themselves, the human resources constitute human beings themselves. Human resources are considered to be the most important resources, because no gift of nature can be developed and utilized as the resources. So when we talk of the human resources, it must be assessed both in terms of quality and quantity. Not only must there be enough humans to exploit the natural resources, they must also have the techniques to utilize them in the best possible manners. So along with the educational expertise, a healthy human population base is also instrumental in the economic and the social development of the region. So my dear student, human resources are considered as a very important resources, because no gift of the natures can be developed and utilized as a resources without of human resources. So when we talk of the human resources, it must be assessed both in terms of quality and quality. So both are focused on in it. Not only must there be enough humans to exploit the natural resources, but they must also have the techniques to utilize them in a best possible manners. So along with the educational expertise, a healthy human population base is also instrumental in the economic and social development of the region. And natural resources becomes a worthwhile resources only when humans have use for it. For example, mineral oil becomes a useful resources only when it is extracted and converted to the petroleum jelly, or terpene oil. So when the quality of education, skills and expertise go up and human beings are able to create more and more resources, then this phenomenon is known as the human resources development. So what is known as the human resources development? When the human beings or the quality of education, skills and expertise go up and human beings are able to create more resources, this phenomenon is known as the human resource development. So the development of technology, practicals, applications of science to commerce and industry has enabled some countries to develop on a massive scale. So these are known as a human resources. Is it clear to all of you? Now come to the points. Next head is human made resources. My dear students, beside human resources, there are resources made or created by the human beings. They play a vital role in the utilizations and development of natural resources. Such resources include technical expertise, government structures, political and economic institutions, as well as the social and cultural setup. How do humans extract minerals or create equipment to use resources? My dear students, it is technology that helps them to do so. It is worthwhile to remember that the technology is a human made resources. As it is made by humans, it is called human made resources. So keep it in your mind that the technology which is made by humans is called human made resources. Human conduct research to improve the quality of crops and goods they produce. Newer techniques are being developed, new techniques, advanced techniques, technologies are being developed at a fast pace that use less time and fewer resources without affecting the quality of goods. It improves the quality of goods, thus is very very important for the conservation of resources for the future. So let's study or find out the points of the conservation of resources. Conservation of resources. Why is conservation such an important issue today? Why? Why there should be